What's happening, my beautiful people? My name is Mike LaBelle. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. We're talking FIFA 22. Gonna give you the breakdown, help you interpret what EA has released up to this point. Specifically, those extra particulars, the details. If you want a video covering more of the FIFA 22 news, information, especially considering new features, new announcements, hearsay. I'm not sure if I'm gonna throw the L word into this video with leaks. And of course, I'm attaching my opinion, unbiased. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. It is free to get involved and to stay involved. We've also updated the upload schedule just for the next month or so. 5 uploads per week is the game plan as we're building in to this next iteration or installment when we're analyzing the FIFA franchise. And if you could comment below, what are your thoughts so far? Are you excited? Are you disappointed? Are you up in the air? Are you being an optimist or a pessimist? These are good discussion points. And I always want to know your opinions, especially with follow-up videos, because then I can directly address what you have to say. We've all seen the trailer at some point, or you've seen this video. And I want to start out by saying my early thoughts when we're looking at FIFA 21 to FIFA 22 is that we should get our first actual next-gen experience. Because if you think back, and many of you don't even have one of the new consoles yet because they've been so difficult to get. FIFA 21 was released during an inopportune time. Transparently speaking, no party was ready. Whether you're looking at EA, development teams, but just simply Sony or Microsoft. These are facts, not an opinion piece. Tell me I'm lying. I never did that. If it wasn't clear, this video is condensing what's already been discussed, and I'm reading in between the lines. Bada bing, bada boom. Hyper motion technology. And this is definitely being built up. What does it mean? On screen, you can see these 4 splits. This is traditionally what EA would use in order to capture some of the new movements and animations. And in FIFA 22, we have 3 times as many animations, and they used an 11v11 actual matchup between pro players in order to gather some of the takedowns and the touches and how a player cuts inside and so forth and so on. Everything will be to be determined. I'm gonna keep it a buckaroo, but more realism, more animations, additional details and particulars is typically a positive. Something I noticed in a lot of these breakdowns is the emphasis on switching of the pitch, and you can see the slice in this video. That's what Catcher was kind of talking about here, is how the player hits the ball, how he's able to incorporate the realism into the actual virtual title, and also in theory that we are not going to be dealing with as an arcadey of a title. Tactical AI, team intelligence. This potentially is the biggest focal point, both offensively and defensively. It's a function and a tangible with the utmost levels of importance that has not been mastered, has not had the proper characteristics, especially offensively, in the past couple FIFA installments. Therefore, leaving us to complaining, as we should, or criticizing how your players move, how they support, the functionality, the natural integration, the organics. Let's review. Cuts inside. It's more so about having multiple players making runs, and needs to happen with a certain level of fluidity and synergy. You should not have to trigger every run in FIFA, the same way you should not have players just sitting still. So you can see the overlap here, the overlap there, and then you're gonna have this additional run going through the midfield. This is where I'm most excited for FIFA 22, because if you have players moving, it gives you more options and also gives the advantage to offensive expression and offensive awareness. And even more so, that I do not need to trigger everything that is happening. Triangles should be formed. On the defensive side, I find this interesting as the players do shift and they seem very active. That's the real takeaway, is active feet. But I really don't want to talk about defense because I feel as if EA, year in and year out, makes defending easier and more assisted in many regards. Additional tactical options. You now have a secondary breakdown as you have the build up and the chance creation. You've got more options. We've all seen this if you go into custom tactics. We don't know exactly how this is going to change or shift or impact the gameplay and what happens and what corresponds on the virtual virtual pitch, there's not a lot to go through until you get all of this into motion with instructions and the free flow and how assisted. Because this is where I've always stressed and wanted tactics to be less influential with what happens on the virtual pitch. Currently, we're looking at FIFA 21, it's like flipping a switch. You turn something on, you turn something off. You've got a very defensive game, or you have a very offensive game, and the pressure play improves as your tactics adjust, but it's not done with manual pressing or team pressing, and we don't have enough of the micromanaging. That has to shift, that has to improve. Kinetic Air Battles. This just doesn't matter, at least not at this point. You're witnessing different entanglements. We're not talking about Jada and Will Smith. I do feel that crossing is going to have more influence in FIFA 22 in comparison to FIFA 21, but I'm not gonna waste your time, nor should they, with kinetic air battles. We won't know until we know, but I feel it's safe to assume that crossing has been upgraded and scoring from crossing has been improved. Maybe that's a big stretch, or a big assumption, or too large of an expectation. Composed ball control, and you're gonna see multi-touch animations with a lot of takedowns. Now, where this could improve and shift the game dramatically is with your number 9s, or some of those attacking players that maybe have the size and they have the touch, but they don't have the speed or the agility. So you have the physical attributes, which then allow you to be able to utilize and reposition, and then you take the ball down. You just keep winning these types of different matchups virtually, and you get a competitive advantage. And I bring that up because how many years now have we talked about how some of the more physical or players that have size don't necessarily get to reap those benefits or reap those rewards. You see a double switch there. That was gonna be a goal. Back of the net. All day, every day. Last but not least, explosive sprint. I guess my question to start, is this a secondary bridge dribble? We're gonna have multiple bridge potential. And I will say this as we look at the example, this might be the most commonly used technique to score goals or to take on players in real life. But if it is not balanced properly, and the EA producers do mention the importance of not making this too OP, but I will believe it when I see it. You just take off. It looks and resembles a bridge dribble in so many different regards. And if you're telling me that Neymar and Mbappe are not going to be unstoppable with this, I'm just a skeptic. Let's watch again. You take off again. Mane burst by that defender. It's hard for me, especially coming off FIFA 21, to think this won't be overpowered. Anytime EA introduces a new skill move or a new maneuver, they always, I repeat, always make it extremely strong so players adapt and utilize whatever that function or skill move or inclusion might look like. They want the community to learn and adjust, because who knows how much time goes into adding something brand new from scratch into a FIFA title. In recap, this will be our first title that we can judge and we can critique with next gen, and the development and hypermotion and these announcements that deal with the ins and the outs and the intrinsic and intimate details. And I always hate or dislike that EA doesn't give us or provide us examples that really dive into Ultimate Team when we're talking about gameplay, because at the end of the day, how many head-to-head matches have you played? Let's say the last 2 or 3 FIFA installments. Be honest with yourself. You can use the comment section. It's not many, and the game is not the same. The speed, not similar. Even the players and how they move, how aggressive or how passive. Everything is designed and focused on Ultimate Team. Team intelligence, or the AI in general, is one of my big takeaways. Typically speaking, if it's been talked about and discussed and detailed, especially with overlapping runs and support. In fact, in the video, you have up to 6 times as many decisions that can be made on the ball. I just don't even know how to interpret that. The composed ball control, and maybe I'm being a little too optimistic. I'm hoping that that is going to allow a shift for those larger players, or the guys that have been physically gifted, but they didn't necessarily have the highest sprint speed or the highest agility, because we have to see something that transcends or transitions those players' usage rates. We can't have another year of Haaland not being Haaland. One of the best strikers in the world, real life, awful in FIFA. Let me know how you feel in the comment section. Did I miss any details? What are the takeaways? Where do you stand currently with FIFA 22? And I have a lot more content coming out ASAP.